So how does someone who failed, constantly, become one of the wealthiest people on the entire planet? Well, this is the story of Jack Ma. But we're not going to treat it like some tale of luck. No, we're looking at it as a scientific blueprint for turning failure into a fortune.
First, let's just start with the result. Jack Ma's net worth is somewhere around $25 billion. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's the scale of success we are talking about here. Okay, now hold that number in your head and look at this. He failed his college entrance exams twice. He applied to Harvard 10 times and got rejected every single time. After he finally graduated, he was rejected from over 30 different jobs. And get this, when KFC came to his city, 24 people applied for a job. He was the only one they rejected. So the question is, how on earth is that possible?
See, this isn't just some random inspirational story. We're about to break down the actual blueprint, the science that shows how all that failure can be the very thing that builds massive success.
I mean, that's the real question, isn't it? With that much rejection, pretty much anyone else would have quit. So why didn't he? Well, the answer isn't just about having a strong will. It's actually about brain science.
Right, so here's what neuroscience is telling us. Our brains are not static, they're not fixed. In every failure, it's not just some bad feeling, it's actually a training session that can physically change the wiring in your head.
And just look at this timeline. We're talking about years, decades really, of getting knocked down again and again. These weren't just failures, they were intense, repeated training exercises for his brain, building a kind of resilience that most of us, honestly, never get a chance to develop.
And here's what was happening under the hood, so to speak. Every single time he failed, his brain was forced to fire up the prefrontal cortex. That's the part that learns from mistakes and solves problems. He was literally, physically, strengthening his problem-solving circuits with every rejection he got.
So, okay, that's the neuroscience, the what was happening inside his skull. But that leads us to the psychology, the how he managed to keep pushing forward. And it all comes down to a trait that researchers now call the secret weapon for success.
And that trait is called grit. It's not about talent, it's not about your IQ. In fact, research shows that this specific mix of passion and just sheer long-term perseverance is a way better predictor of who's going to succeed. And Jack Ma, he is the walking, talking embodiment of grit.
This metaphor just nails it. It's perfect. You don't go to the gym once and expect to be strong, right? Well, all those failures, the job rejections, the people who laughed at his ideas, they were like daily reps for his brain, building up his mental muscle, his patience, and his confidence.
So, you have this gritty mindset. Great. But how does that actually build a company? Well, it happens when the brain doesn't just learn from failure. It physically rewires itself to take action. The science behind all of this is called neuroplasticity. It's the brain's incredible ability to form new connections based on what you experience. And put simply, it just means your brain isn't fixed, you can change it. For Jack Ma, this was everything. Just try to imagine it. Every rejection letter, every failed test, every single person who told him his idea for an internet company in China was completely nuts. Every single no was a literal step in rewiring his brain for success. Each one of those no's carved out new pathways for persistence and for creativity. It built the neural architecture that he needed for the one massive yes that became Alibaba.
And this whole rewiring process builds this incredibly powerful psychological asset called self-efficacy. It's way more than just confidence. It's that deep down belief that you can take action and actually get a result, no matter how many times you've been knocked down before.
And you can totally see this self-efficacy in his actions. He wasn't just sitting around thinking positive thoughts, he was doing things. Riding his bike for miles just to practice English with tourists. Launching his company when absolutely everyone said he would fail. Each little action created this feedback loop, making him believe even more that he could make things happen.
Okay, so let's pull all this together. Jack Ma's story is fascinating, for sure. But the most important part is the blueprint it gives all of us. This isn't just about him, it's about what we can learn for ourselves.
Here it is, the core insight. Success is not about trying to avoid failure. It's about experiencing way more failure than everybody else, and then learning how to use it as fuel, as leverage.
So here's his method, broken down into 3 parts. First, he treated every failure like a piece of data, not a judgment. Second, he used the fear of being left behind as fuel for action. And maybe most importantly, he activated those resilient circuits in his brain that, for a lot of people, just sit there, completely unused.
So if you want to boil this entire incredible process down to a simple mantra, it's just this: fail, learn from it, act on what you learned, and then repeat. You just get stronger and smarter every single time you go through the loop.
And that's really the ultimate takeaway here. This isn't some superpower that only billionaires have. These principles, neuroplasticity, grit, they're universal. Your brain has the exact same capacity to rewire itself. Your failures, if you let them, can be your greatest training ground. The real question isn't whether or not you're going to fail, it's what are you going to build from it?